So that's a little, I don't like that. Okay, that's better. All right, hopefully you guys can see me. All right, so what's up, you guys? This is Uncle P from Super Easy Forex. In this video, I'm going to be helping you guys with news events that's coming up for the coming week that I think is really, really important for you. So make sure to stay tuned, take notes, and everything else. And I got a video coming out on information that basically I've been trading for a very long time. And I noticed that a lot of times, a lot of you guys are spending the weekend marking up your charts. I'm going to go over my perspective of that to kind of help you understand whether you think it's worth, whether I think it's worth it or not doing so, and exactly why, and why I actually personally don't do it anymore. Okay, so stay tuned to that video this week. I'll probably be doing it this week. If not, I'll do it next Sunday. But I really want you guys to spend far less time on these charts and far more time with your families, especially when I know that the work that you're doing is not really going to make a difference when the market's open. Okay, so I'll go over my perspective of it, but you do what you will. Okay, all right. Good morning. Hey, what's up, D? Super Black, what's happening? What's happening? And I know there's going to be a lot of people who's going to watch this video later on. So welcome to you as well. All right. So as promised, I told you guys that one of the things I'm going to be doing is to help reduce the amount of time I'm doing videos. I'm going to put up what our signals results was. I'm going to go over news events and stuff like that. And I'm going to kind of guide you guys around what I think is best for the week ahead. Okay. So it's all going to be on Sundays, same thing I've been doing, but I'm just going to combine them all together versus doing all these separate little individual videos. Okay. All right. So news events. First of all, let me go over what we did last week in the signals group, which the thumbnail was there, but just so you guys know, for transparency's sake, and this thing keep changing colors, I guess, because it's getting the color outside. All right. Well, anyway, here we go. So last week, which was August 7th through the 12th, we had a phenomenal week. We had 14 wins and only 2 losses. And in the scalping group, they did over 10,470 pips. Now, again, just for clarification, just so people know, what's the difference? Why the discrepancy? Or better yet, how do you get 10,000 pips in a freaking week? That doesn't even make sense, right? Okay, actually it does. All right, let me tell you how that makes sense. How it makes sense is because when you're trading the indices, the pips value is much, much larger than if you're trading like the Euro USD or the USD JPY. So in the scalping group, they primarily dominate in that space, trading the indices. They do trade gold and other things, of course, and even crypto sometimes. But the point is that that's where they dominate, and that's why the pip value is so much larger, and they make a lot of money up in that group. Okay, so that's the gist of it. 14 wins last week, only 2 losses, and those 2 losses are on the Swiss, which, by the way, is not my favorite pair to trade. Just you can mark that in your notes. What is the one pair that Uncle P don't like that much? It's the Swiss. Why? And by the way, Swiss is what some people call, I heard them call it chief and all these kind of things. It's the CHF, okay, the Swiss, okay? So the reason why I don't like it is because it can make massive moves, but you never know why. Okay, I'm gonna repeat that again. It makes massive moves, but you never know why. Okay, because as I go through these news events of things that you need to be looking for, the one that you're going to constantly keep finding is going to be an issue is they list news events for almost every pair, but the one that barely has any news, yep, there you go, Derek, it's the sneaky pair because you don't know what's going on with it, but it makes massive quick moves out of the blue. Or it can start just shooting down and trending it, or shooting up and start trending out of the blue, and you have no idea why it's happening because there's very, very few news events that ever comes out on the Swiss, but it makes massive moves. So that's why, like Derek said in the chat, I call it the sneaky pair. Okay, so just be careful when you're trading the Swiss. It'll show you some very good setups, and then it'll blow the account up. Okay, so don't trust it. Don't trust it. So our only 2 losses last week were actually on 2 trades in the Swiss. One early in the week and one later in the week, but 14 other wins, we'll take that. Okay. All right. Now let's get on to the news that I'm just going to mention some of these. I don't think that some of these are relevant, but you still need to know. Okay. Euro is, they have some kind of holiday today, which is called the Assumption of Mary. I don't have a clue what that is, but I don't think it'll affect the market. But except for the fact that if the euro is closed, then expect that the euro will be moving a little bit slower than normal. You'll still probably see some price action, but it'll be probably more retail traders trading on it than it is banks and institutions. If that's the case, You can expect some moves, but I wouldn't expect big moves unless it's the opposite pair it's against making big moves. So for an example, if you're trading in the Euro JPY and there's a big move, then chances are the big move came from the side of the JPY, not the side of the Euro. Okay, because the Euro market is actually closed. All right, there we go. Next, we have CAD coming out with inflation on Tuesday. Now, this is very interesting. Okay, and GBP is coming out with their inflation rates on Wednesday. This I'm not concerned about, but here's learning, okay? Learning the industry that you're in. I told you guys, and I sent it into the chat groups, I said the market is moving freaky slow, okay? It was moving heck of slow. But I also know that when the markets begin to move extremely slow, write this down, you better learn this. This is really, really important. The markets, when they're sitting really, really slow, I mean, the whole market is just sitting slow like it did last week. That is when you need to be trading with nervousness, okay? Even if you don't know why, the one thing you need to know is that the market is sitting slow for a reason. It may not be a reason that you understand, but just know it's like, let me give it to you like this, because me and my wife, we just got done swimming. So let's just say you go to the ocean. All right. And you're having a good time splashing around and you start to see everybody else getting out of the water with haste. You don't know why everybody else is getting out the water, but you see people getting out the water fairly quickly. Now, here's the question. Is you going to keep your stupid behind in the water and splash around when you see the majority of the people leaving the water on the beach and scrambling to shore? Well, I don't know what they're jumping out for. I'm having a good time. Okay, but stupid, get your dumb behind out of the water. Does that make sense? Why? Because even if you don't know why there's an issue, it doesn't mean there's not an issue of concern around. And it's better for you to be out of the water and then ask people, hey, what was going on? And they tell you, oh man, there was a great white shark near the beach area where, you understand what I'm saying? You would be saying, thank God I got out of the water rather than staying in, being stiff-necked, like the Bible calls it, stiff-necked and stubborn, and then later on to find out exactly what the problem was. So the same holds true with the markets. Whenever you see the markets at a standstill, almost at a freeze, barely moving, okay? This is why one of the signals we closed out at break even. I was like, you know what? Hey, we took a trade. The market didn't even move for the entire 24 hours. It just sat there. So I said, you know what? Let's just close that break even. Why? Because even though I wasn't aware of what was going on, the fact is it was a reason the market was sitting still. All right. And I'm going to a point to pay attention to what I'm saying. So what happened was, unbeknownst to the importance of it, because I haven't seen inflation rates all the time. They've been constantly having that. So it didn't make sense to me why last week's inflation rate numbers on the US would be important. Just like this week, the inflation rates for CAD and the JPY, I really don't see any importance of it. It's going to maybe cause a blip or something, but realistically, anything important, I don't really think so. Here's the reason why, though, and I found out later, just like the shark story, the same thing. I've seen inflation rate reports all the time. It's not that big of a deal, barely moves the market. But the reason why it was important this time is because what it came out was the whole entire market was on a standstill for one reason. Because this time, since the Feds had constantly been raising interest rates, right, to beat inflation, these inflation numbers were important because it gives a clear indication on whether the Feds are going to continue to raise interest rates, which is going to affect the dollar across the entire globe, because you know the dollar is widely accepted across the globe. So the entire market, the Forex market, was on a standstill waiting to hear whether the efforts of the Feds raising interest rates as high as they did, is it making a difference, or are they still going to have to come back and raise interest rates even more? That is why the entire market was on standstill across the globe. All currency pairs were almost at a standstill because they all wanted to know, what is the Fed possibly going to be able to do? If the inflation numbers came out that inflation is still going up, then that would have been troubling, because it told the entire bank institutions, global banks across the world would have known, okay, the Feds are probably going to continue to raise interest rates. But if the inflation numbers seem to scale off or settle down, then maybe when the Feds come out, they may stop raising interest rates. So do you see how this kind of information, we as day-to-day retail traders, we wouldn't have known this. But we at least had a heads up that something was important, because when you see the entire market moving very slow, that was telling you one big thing. It's telling you the big money players, the whales in the market, the banks, the institutional traders, the ones with the big money to move the market, were not taking trades. So the moves that you did see were only who? If it wasn't the banks and institutions making the moves, then who was actually doing it? It was the retail traders. Dana, what's up, bro? What's up? What's up? Okay, so it was the retail traders who were still trading because they didn't know what was going on. And those are the ones who were scurrying around in the sea. Well, I'm going to keep on swimming. I don't see, but see, the banks and institutions jumped out of the water because they said there's a shark. And we know the shark is coming. Do you see how that, by the way, I'm just going to throw this in and leave it alone. I don't want to get nobody pissed off. And like I said, I know a lot of people going to watch this video later, so I don't want to get no emails of negativity. But do you see why it's fruitless with these people who keep talking about beat the market makers? It's hard to beat somebody when you don't have their information. Now, you can follow the clues of what they're doing, but you can't beat them if you don't know. So if anything, if you want to beat the market makers, don't try to beat them, be like them. If they slow down and they're not moving the markets, then what did that tell you? The average retail trader should have did. Stayed out of the market. You know how many people's accounts got blown up when that news came out? You understand what I'm saying? Matter of fact, some brokers, the numbers came out when that news immediately hit. Some brokers, the flood of trades that came in instantaneously froze up some of those trading platforms, where some brokers had to give refunds. You hear what I'm saying? Because once the news came out, all that money started moving very, very rapidly. I mean, it just boom. It was like a tsunami of trades just hit. Why? Because it was sitting up and building up and building up and building up. Who was doing the building up? It wasn't the retail traders. They were already trading still in the water with the sharks. But it was the institutions who had the ability to utilize patience and to say, I'm going to sit back and wait and see what these numbers come out to be. Now, in all fairness, the reason why the retail trader didn't do that is because who knows how to connect the dots in the retail space? Nobody. Matter of fact, it's preached against to actually even pay attention to fundamental news. You hear what I'm saying? You know how many people talk bad about me because I actually come and try to teach you guys how to connect the dots on fundamental news to your trading? You know how many people say, man, you don't need that fundamental stuff, man. Price action is all you need. Price action is king. Price, I get talked about so bad, and that's okay. Do you? But when your account just got blown up, and you sitting up there, what? You know how many comments I saw of people saying, well, what happened? What just happened in the market? What just happened in my trade? See? Oh, okay. Oh, no, don't worry about it. Price action is king, isn't it? Do you see what I'm saying? See, don't be so stiff-necked and stubborn to where you can't learn additional information. As I teach my students, always before you take a trade, take a glance at the news. If there's any news coming out within the next 24 hours or so, you might want to pass that trade up. No matter how beautiful it is, if it's a significant news event, you need to pass it up, because you can have a good setup and it get blown up, not because of the setup, not because of price action, not because of support and resistance, supply and demand zones. That has nothing to do with the fact that you're trading a country's economy. And once they come out with news, whether for or against that country, it will blow up everything. It can care less about market structure. Get what I'm saying? That's the country reacting to news that just happened to it. So for you not to acknowledge that this is part of the game, this is possibly the reason why you're struggling. You hear what I'm saying? Now, fortunate for those who are in the simplicity group, we gave you a list of news events to pay attention to. So once you see those coming out on during the week, you and I already know, hey, these are events that we need to look look and keep our heads out, keep an eye out for them. It's not to say not to trade, but to just say, hey, we need to trade with a little more caution if we are going to take trades, because we already have our list, and that's in your step-by-step tutorials, okay, in your printouts. Let's move on to the next one. So CAD's inflation rates and the GBP's inflation rates. Now, here's the deal. I don't really care about those so much as the US. Why? Because the US dollar is traded and spent all over the world. In other words, I can take my US dollars and I can go to Barbados, which I did. And, we was near Rihanna's house and everything else. It was cool. So I could take my US dollar bills and they were happy to accept them. But when they gave me change, they were slick too, by the way, y'all Barbadians, you were slick. Okay, you didn't give me change in the US dollar. You gave me change in Barbadian dollars. Why? Because I can't use Barbadian dollars to come back to the US and spend Barbadian dollars. They're useless here. You knew that. That's why you gave me change in Barbadian dollars. Why? Because you knew the only way that I'm going to be able to spend it is to spend it while I'm still there in your country, keeping y'all's money circulating. That was a smart but sneaky move. I get it, right? But do you understand the point? So when certain news events come out, the impact of the US dollar's news event is going to have far more impact than the others. What do I mean by that? The GBP and the CAD are both coming out with inflation rates, but that's only going to basically affect their country. It's really not going to affect the global markets like last week where we seen the whole market at a freeze, waiting to see what's going on. Don't expect that for the GBP or the CAD. Now, it can impact those currencies, and those are coming. The CAD is coming out on Tuesday. GBP is coming out with theirs on Wednesday. So if you're trading the CAD or if you're trading the GBP, yes, pay attention to those on that time. Do you understand? During those news events, pay attention if you're in a trade on the CAD or if you're in a trade on the GBP, because it may affect those pairs. But as a global, if you're trading a Euro USD or something like that, it won't have anything to do with it. Okay, let's move on. Now, here's another one you really need to pay attention to that was not a red envelope, but it was on medium. And I said, man, I usually pay attention to the red envelopes, but it caught my eye. I'm glad it did. The NZD is coming out with their interest rates coming out on Tuesday. Write this stuff down, okay? These Sunday videos, ain't nobody paying me. I don't monetize this stuff. You understand what I'm saying? I'm doing it to help y'all out. So make sure you bring something to write with so that you won't get caught in the traps when you're trading. All right? Don't keep playing like, oh, I'm surprised. What just happened? What just happened? What just happened? I told you. Okay? Write it down. Here we go. On Tuesday, the NZD, the New Zealand dollar, it's going to come out with its interest rates. Now, again, it's not going to be a global impact, but if you're in a trade on the NZD, be careful during that time, because on Tuesday, it will come out. Okay. Now, if you have my FX Book app or one of those other ones like Forex Factory or whatever news event thing, just look at it, what time it's coming out in your time zone. Okay. But be aware of that. All right. Now, on Wednesday, you also have the retail numbers coming out for the US. Now, I don't think that's going to be an earth shaking, this or that. It may blip and then go away. So don't worry about that one. Now, here's the biggest one. And this is the last one that I think that you really need to pay attention to is the Fed minutes. Now, the Feds are not going to be announcing interest rates this week. I didn't see it scheduled this week for them to announce their interest rates. But here's where it's going to be important. Most, in my humble opinion, in my experience, the banks and institutions, the stock market, the bond market, all of these markets are going to be listening very closely to what conversation is being had by the Feds on Wednesday when they go over their minutes or their notes to get a clue on whether the Feds are going to continue to raise interest rates or whether they're going to leave them exactly where they are. This is going to be very, very important. Why? For an example, I just bought this house. Okay. I just bought this house for my wife. Okay. And literally, we had a rate locked in for several months. And on the day we signed on this house, if we wouldn't have signed on that day, the very next 24 hours, we would have had to pay more interest on the loan than what we currently got it at. Do you hear what I'm saying? Because the interest rates have climbed so high. So now they're trying to see whether the Feds are going to stop raising interest rates and leave them where they are just to give it a little bit of time, seeing that inflation has now stopped, according to last week's numbers. Or is the Feds going to continue to raise interest rates, or are they going to cool it off? Now, why did I mention about a house? It was not to brag, but to see how their decisions impact your decisions. Because if you're trying to buy a car, you're trying to buy a house, if you're getting credit card debt or anything else, their decisions of whether they're going to raise the interest rates, lower them, or leave them alone is going to impact you as well. These are why one of the benefits of being a Forex trader, I'm just going to leave you guys with this. One of the benefits of being a Forex trader is because it forces you to be involved in world currencies and world events. Now you get to look behind the scenes to what's actually running the world and how the average person has no clue what's going on with them. They have no idea. They just see things happening, but they have no clue what's going on and why. But these things are happening and they are affecting your day-to-day life. Are you understanding what I'm saying here? So if you were the person who's trying to buy a house, yes, you're concerned as well about what direction the feds are going to be taking. If you have a credit card, you want to know. If you're about to buy a car, you want to know, because that whatever decision they make is going to affect the interest rates that you get. Now, your credit status, having good credit, can help you get the best rates, but you still won't pay a lot more because the feds, the base rate is where all these companies have to start with. Whatever the Fed says the base rate is, then from there, your credit plays a role into whether you can get the lowest to the base rate or higher because you're a higher risk. But either way it goes, the Fed's decision is the base, and whatever decision they make is going to dictate what the lenders can be able to give to you, no matter how great your credit is. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Okay, I hope this stuff is making sense to you so you begin to see how the Forex world is actually introducing you into the what's affecting you at the gas station, the grocery stores, your credit card bills, your debt to income ratio, your house note, even watch this, even if you don't own a house and you're renting. Now you're beginning to understand why your lender, the person called your landlord, may be raising rates. Because, watch this, and I used to own a lot of rental property. Let me tell you why they do that. Just side low education, okay? Side low hustle. The reason why they do that is because they look at their personal bills. See, you don't know the landlord. The landlord could have a whole lot of what they call debt to income. In other words, if they own a lot of properties, but they also own a lot of loans on it or debt, and they use credit cards or whatever else, or they're just big spenders and they need to, they need more money for their personal things. Well, they're not going to raise their own. They have no other way of making money. But what they'll do is they'll raise the rental rate on you, and you're actually helping to pay off their additional expenses. So when inflation hit them, they turn to you, the renter, raise your rent to help pay for their additional bills. So do you see how the Fed's interest rates, no matter which way you look at it, it does affect you it affects everybody. Now you can begin to understand why the markets go into freeze frame right before the Feds are talking. Or if it has anything to do with what the Feds may do with their interest rates, that's why the global market goes into a freeze. Nobody ever explains this. You don't even get this sometimes. You could pay to go to college and they still don't teach you how to connect the dots. They teach you these economic factors and how to calculate this, but they don't break it down simple enough so you can understand, why did my local grocery store just do what they did? Why did my landlord just do what they did? Why did my credit card, why did my electricity bill go up? Why did this happen? So they keep you clueless because you don't know how to connect the dots. You understand what I'm saying? And it all starts with who? The Feds. Now, do you understand why it's important that the ability to be able to understand fundamentals can affect not just you as a trader, but it helps you to navigate what's going on in your day-to-day life? Loved one, I hope this video was very helpful. Again, and let me leave you guys with this, and I'm going to be very, very honest and transparent. I'll leave you guys with this. I told you guys, I spent tons of times on these charts, but I'm not going to continue to do that. I'm really not. I know that signals is not for everybody. That's cool. Do you? But here's what's a beautiful thing. My wife and I, we got this lot out here that's right by the lake. Okay, very, very beautiful, nice lot. And I was trying to decide, should I pay the gardener? So it's just we're here. Why not cut the grass? So I went yesterday and got one of them electric lawnmowers. You know, them Ego lawnmowers, really, really bougie kind of electric lawnmowers where it's self-propelled and it almost drives itself like a car and all this kind of thing, right? So my wife, she's a hands-on kind of person. I love that about her. She's not a lazy woman. She's one of those hands-on. So I was doing it. And she said, I want to do it too. And so we both ended up and boy, we were tired. We didn't know that land was that much, right? Much respect for landscapers. But here's the deal. After we got done with that, then we went out to the swimming pool. And we just got done swimming not too long ago. And for the first time in both of our lives, there was a rainstorm that was coming through and we were in the pool. We never had that experience together. Okay, never had this experience where there's a lot of rain coming through, a rainstorm, and we were in the pool swimming. And people say, well, why was you in the pool swimming? Well, guess what? I'm in the pool. I'm wet already, so getting rain on me didn't matter, right? But to have a huge storm come through while we're in the pool, that was so cool, actually. As long as there wasn't no thunder and lightning, I would have been out. Why am I sharing this with you? Is it to brag? No, it's to tell you what decision I am making. Okay, here's the reason why I'm making this decision. Because there's one thing I can't get back. And I'm going to talk about this in another video in more detail. I can't get certain moments in my life back. I really can't. There's certain things that once the moment is past, it's past. I've lost. And the older you get, you begin to understand what is actually valuable. And at the end of the day, and I'm telling you, I'm going to do another video more deeper. But at the end of the day, and my students, you know this, I taught you the 4 quadrants of life. But for those who haven't heard of it, I won't go into detail, but here's the 4 quadrants of life. The 4 quadrants of life, whether you're rich or poor, is 4 things that this life can only offer you. Okay, write this down. This is your life lesson for Sunday. Number 1, when you get more money, there's 4 basic things that you can get. Number 1 is a bigger house. Write this down. You'll never hear this anywhere else. I know Robert Kiyosaki got his 4 quadrants, you know, self-employed, entrepreneurship, business owner, employee, and this and that. Okay, I know he got those 4 financial quadrants, but this is the real quadrant, the quadrant of life. You work and bust your butt, and the only thing you're going to get out of this life is 4 things. Number 1 is a bigger house. Number 2 is a fancier car. Number 3, fancier food. And number 4, fancier clothes. I'll go over that again. You can only get 4 things out of this life with money on a general scale. And that's just a fancier house, a fancier car, fancier clothes, and fancier food. Trust me, I've done it all. I've been the pomper. I've been the person who was 1 week away from homeless, went from millionaire to homeless, and God saved me by 1 week. I went from being comfortable in life to being almost homeless. I had 1 week before I wasn't going to end up being homeless. It was the worst time of my life, but it wasn't the only time I was that broke. So I've seen both ends multiple times, and I had to work my way back each time to get back on my feet. Are you hearing what I'm saying? And I actually have a relative who's watching, and they know what happened to me. They witnessed it. And each time I had to work my way back from poverty. So I've done it a couple of times. And that's what helped me to realize that's the only thing that this life can offer you with money. But there is something that this life cannot offer with money. And that's time. My wife, when we got done cutting that lawn, she said, oh, I had such a great time cutting the lawn. And we did, listen to what I'm saying. We did it together. We cut on our new home, we cut the lawn for our first lawn. Now we had gardener come out already, but I want to do it when I'm ready to do it, right? Because I want to make sure that Lakeview ain't covered up by no grass, and they take, you know, they put you on the schedule. I don't want to be on no schedule. I want to see it when I want to see it. You understand? And because of a lot of rain, the grass is growing very, very rapidly. So I want to do my beautiful wife. She had a great time cutting the lawn, and then after that, we went and swam in the pool together and enjoyed this huge, beautiful pool that's sitting by another lake. And we spent time together. And when I wrap this video up, I'm going to go back and spend more time with her. My point is, and maybe I don't even need to do another video. This is good enough. For those who will heed my words, I may do another. I may go deeper. But the point is, the one thing that I'm realizing, if you are sick, like Steve Jobs, you can have all the money in the world and you can't buy health. And that house, that car, them clothes, and that food don't mean, and I ain't saying no cuss word, but you know what I mean. It don't mean nothing. It means nothing because you can't buy health and you cannot buy time with people. And this is another reason why I'm going to do a video about my thoughts on marking up charts over the weekends. I'm going to do this. I'm going to give you my opinion about it. And I'm being honest with you. I'm tired. Tired of the markets. So even me, if it is a bad week in the Forex markets in our signal service, Uncle P is going to have a bad week himself because I'm also taking those signals. I'm taking the alerts just like everybody else in the group. I'm no different from you. I don't get special alerts that you don't get. When them alerts are coming out, they come out for everybody, including me. And if it ain't a good week, I can't even come on here and endorse the service because guess what? I'm going to end up with a bad week too. The same alerts you getting, it's the same ones I'm getting. So when we had 14 wins and 2 losses, we had 14 wins and 2 losses. In addition to the 10,000 pips that Miss Jenny's group and the Scalping group did. You understand what I'm saying? See, I'm eating the same food you eating. And that's different from a lot of other services out there who won't say the truth about what they're doing behind their scenes. And that's not my place to say, even though I know a lot of them, but that's not my place to say. They do them, I do me. I'm endorsing what I'm actually doing. In other words, if I go to a restaurant, which we found a wonderful restaurant. Oh my God, you guys. In this new area, we found a wonderful restaurant. Oh my God. I mean, well, that's a different story. Oh my God, that food was delicious. So what happens is to the locals, guess what they do? Like for an example, even when we were eating at that restaurant, we was talking about, well, I want some good barbecue. The person said, well, hey, if you want good barbecue, I'm going to tell you, go right up the street, that little place. And I passed that place by and it didn't look like nobody was there. They said, oh, that got some of the best barbecue. So me and my wife, we went in there and they had some good barbecue. Now we're going to be a regular customer for them when we want barbecue. How did we know? Because they ate there and then they told me about it. Do you see what I'm saying? They couldn't tell me about something that they didn't do. And you got a lot of people in this business who say, but they ain't doing. Honestly, for me, it's a time saver because why am I on these charts so often when I can just let somebody else do the work? In other words, I'm outsourcing it. Going back, and I'll leave you guys with this concept. I enjoyed the cut, but doggone, that's a lot of yard. My wife said that. She's like, oh my God, see, it's one thing to look at your yard, but it's another thing when you start cutting it, they'd be like, dang, that's a lot of yard, right? Okay. So we had a great experience with it, but chances are we still might do what? Outsource it back to the landscapers. Why? Because I had the experience, I learned how to do it, I get the feel of it, but is this something that I think I might want to do for the next several years, every week? I doubt it. I doubt it. So what will you do if you had a large lot of land on the lake, and you had to cut the front and back every week? What would you do? Would you cut it yourself or would you outsource it to a landscaper? Some of you guys would say, I would probably outsource it. That's exactly what I'm telling you. If you are not having success in trading, then why are you constantly trading on your own and making no money and spending tons of time? For me, I'm not doing it no more. I'm tired. Oftentimes, I won't even think about these charts. So I'm actually outsourcing my work to the service that I'm providing, not just for y'all, but it's providing for me in my home. Thank you, Derek. And like Derek said, the signals are on fire. I mean, they make money. Now, in transparency, in all transparency. You do have to make sure that you have because we send them out through the Telegram app. Make sure that you have the Telegram app on your phone because, yes, they send out signals, right? They send out the signals, but they don't always hold them until take profit, and that's wisdom. Here's the reason why. Some of you guys, you're trying to constantly hold your trades until it hits TP, but you're having a problem because you're in a very volatile market. So it could be going in your direction, and then all of a sudden it just goes against you. And you've experienced it if you're a Forex trader, so it's not like you don't understand what I'm saying. So oftentimes what will happen is he'll send out an alert saying, hey, let's just take our money and run. And all money is good money. I'll repeat that. All money is good money. And what I like even more, and yes, I'm going to brag about our service. You don't have to do it, but I'm just telling you. Because when he also sends out alerts saying, hey, let's close it, he shows you, because he trades many accounts, okay, many accounts. But it's always one account where he trades with a quarter lot on the same signal that you received so that you can see proof of what he's eating. So even he's eating the same food that you're eating. So it's we're all a company at this company. We all have to eat off the food that we're serving in this restaurant. We can't be serving pizza, but then selling you tacos. We all are eating the same thing. And he shows proof in the alerts. Now, Miss Jenny's, you really can't get away with that because it's live. So if you're trying to be a scalper and you want to scalp, then attend it with her because it's live with other traders. So everything is only up and up. But for me, I'm just being honest with you guys. I'm tired, man. I'm good, bro. I've spent years on these charts. Years cutting my own grass. And I'm tired. It's time to let somebody else handle that. So I actually am taking the signals myself. So when I brag and do these videos talking about 4 wins and 2 losses, am I happy about it? Yes, because guess what? That was 14 wins for me and 2 losses. I'll take that all day long. Are you hearing what I'm saying, loved one? I will take that all day long because it's making me money as an investor without actually having to be on the charts. That gives me more time to do something else. Matter of fact, my wife and I, we're going to be starting 2 brand new businesses that have nothing to do with the markets at all. So it's going to give me the time I need to work on 2 new businesses while still making money. Are you understanding what I'm saying? So I'll close this video. I'm just being honest with you guys. Y'all do what you want, but I'm really telling you, even if it's not our signal service and you find somebody else, there's other ones out there. If you like them better, do that. That's fine. But I'm simply saying, if you're tired of coming up every weekend with nothing to show for it, and then you go spend the whole weekend marking up charts again, and every week you keep having an empty pocket, then you might want to stop trying to cut your own grass and let the landscapers who are professionals do it for you. And there's no shame in the game. Because here's the truth. I know how to cut grass. But my cut don't look as pretty as theirs. I mean, they come out with all these tools and they do it within minutes. They make it look real pretty. Now, I cut grass. My wife cut grass. They cut grass. But they're just better at it because that's what they do on the normal. So to say that, hey, well, this and that. Okay, well, if you want to be prideful, then stick with your pride. I want to do it on my own. Okay, go ahead and do it on your own. Do you? You want to keep cutting the grass? Go right ahead. I mean, it's no shame, right? But at the same time, if you're tired and you want to actually make some money, that's one thing. Now, here's the other benefit. Let's just say that you want to learn while you earn. Well, the signals is just there for you can make money, but then you can attend the live scalping session so you can be in an instructional environment to learn. So it's not like you don't have an opportunity to learn how to trade. You can get the signals and still attend the live sessions for the scalping. See, they're 2 separate services all in one. So if you want to attend. Some days I attend, some days I don't. You understand what I'm saying? It's just up to me. But at least it's there. You can get both of the best of both sides. So if you want to learn, okay, go to the classes with Miss Jenny. If you just want to earn, just take the signals. It's all one group. It's all in one thing. Okay. So anyway, this is a very long video. Hopefully this was helpful. But the news events, I'm going to continue to do these news events with our results. So when you see us coming up with the signals reel, just remember it's not just a video about that. I'm going to be giving you updates on news events so that you'll be aware of what I'm paying attention to for the up and coming week. So I appreciate your time today. Thank you very much. And I know a lot of people are going to be watching this video later once it hits into our social sites. Thank you very much. Praise God for you. Have a blessed day and have a successful trading week. Thank you.